My mother's hand hit my face so hard that the sound echoed across the dining room, sharp and final, like a judge's gavel. In that exact moment, with my cheek burning and my heart pounding, she looked straight into my eyes and said, "You have no other choice. Do as you're told." That was when the lawyer, who had been silent the entire evening, slowly leaned forward, stared at my mother, and whispered something that made the blood drain from her face. The room fell completely silent. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. My name is Emma, and this happened at what was supposed to be a simple family gathering. If you had walked into that room earlier, you would have thought it was just another wealthy family celebrating together. Crystal glasses lined the long mahogany table. Soft music played in the background. My sister smiled too widely, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. My mother sat at the head of the table, perfectly composed, like always. And me? I was just trying to survive another evening where I didn't quite belong. I should have known something was wrong when the lawyer showed up unannounced. He wasn't family. He wasn't a friend. Yet there he was, standing awkwardly near the fireplace, holding a slim leather folder as if it weighed 100 pounds. When I asked my mother why he was there, she brushed me off. "Just paperwork," she said. "Nothing for you to worry about." That was a lie. Halfway through dinner, my sister cleared her throat. The room went quiet in that forced way, the kind where everyone senses a storm coming but pretends the sky is still clear. "Emma," she said sweetly, folding her hands together. "We should stop pretending. Let's handle this like adults." I felt every eye turn toward me. Before I could speak, she slid a stack of papers across the table. On top, in bold legal text, were the words that made my stomach drop. "Deed transfer, estate value, $9.50 million. My sister didn't even blink. "Sign it," she said. "You know it should be mine." I laughed at first. Not because it was funny, but because it felt unreal, like some twisted joke. "You can't be serious," I said, pushing the papers back. That's when my mother stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor as she leaned over the table, eyes cold, voice sharp. "You will sign those papers tonight," she said. "This family has already decided." I told her no. That single word changed everything. Her hand came out of nowhere. The slap stunned me. My vision blurred. The room froze. And as I stood there in shock, my mother hissed, "You have no other choice." That was when the lawyer finally spoke. And whatever he whispered next would turn my entire family upside down. For a few seconds after the slap, I couldn't even feel my face. My ears rang, and the taste of copper filled my mouth as I slowly turned my head back toward the table. No one moved. No one spoke. Not my sister. Not my uncles. Not even the cousins who usually avoided conflict by burying their faces in their phones. They just watched. That silence told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a sudden demand. This wasn't an emotional outburst. This had been planned. I straightened my back, even though my hands were shaking. "So that's it?" I asked, my voice quieter than I wanted it to be. "You invite me here just to ambush me?" My sister sighed dramatically, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Emma, don't act like a victim. You've had enough. That estate should stay with someone who actually belongs in this family." Those words cut deeper than the slap. I had grown up in this house, but I was always treated like a guest who overstayed her welcome. My sister, Claire, was my mother's pride, perfect grades, perfect manners, perfect future. I was the inconvenient reminder of my mother's first marriage, the one she liked to pretend never happened. The estate wasn't just a property. It was my late father's legacy. He had built everything from nothing. I remembered him working late nights, coming home exhausted but smiling when he saw me waiting by the door. When he passed away, I was still young, but he left the estate in a trust for me. Not for my mother. Not for my sister. For me. At least, that's what I had always believed. My mother folded her arms, her voice calm now, dangerously calm. "Your father would have wanted what's best for the family." "No," I said. "He wanted what was fair." Claire rolled her eyes. Fair? You've been living quietly while the rest of us carried the family name. That money is wasted on you. I felt something inside me harden. You don't get to decide that, I said. And you definitely don't get to take it. That's when my mother gestured toward the lawyer. That's exactly why he's here. The lawyer cleared his throat, but didn't speak yet. Instead, he opened the folder and slowly laid out more documents across the table: bank statements, trust summaries, legal amendments. My name was everywhere. My heart pounded harder with every page. Your father's trust, my mother said, has conditions. Conditions you clearly haven't fulfilled. I leaned forward. What conditions? She smiled. And for the first time that night, I felt afraid. You were never supposed to control the estate alone, she said. You were meant to transfer it once the family deemed you unfit. Unfit. I looked around the room, searching for even one person to meet my eyes. They all looked away. That's not true, I whispered. He would have told me. That's because, Claire said softly, you never knew everything about your father. That sentence hit me like ice water. Before I could ask what she meant, the lawyer finally leaned closer to my mother and whispered something under his breath, too quiet for anyone else to hear. My mother's confident expression faltered, and for the first time all evening, she looked uncertain. What did you just say? My mother snapped, turning sharply toward the lawyer. He didn't repeat himself. Instead, he closed the folder slowly, deliberately, as if buying himself time. The sound of leather meeting leather felt louder than any shout. Every pair of eyes in the room followed his hands. I said, he replied evenly, that before anyone signs anything tonight, certain facts need to be acknowledged. My sister's smile vanished. This isn't the time for speeches, she said. We're here to finalize the transfer. The lawyer finally looked at me then, not with pity, not with judgment, but with something close to respect. Ms. Emma deserves to understand exactly what she's being asked to give up. My mother slammed her palm on the table. She understands perfectly. No, he said calmly. She doesn't. And based on what I'm seeing, neither do you. The tension in the room thickened. I could feel it pressing against my chest, making it hard to breathe. What facts? I asked. What aren't you telling me? The lawyer opened the folder again, this time pulling out a single document. Unlike the others, this one was worn at the edges, yellowed with age. He placed it in front of me and slid it across the table. At the top was my father's name. Below it, a date from years before his death. This, the lawyer said, is an addendum to the original trust. My mother's face drained of color. That document was never meant to be discussed. Yet here we are, he replied. I scanned the page, my hands trembling. The words blurred together at first, but then one line came into focus. In the event of coercion, manipulation, or forced transfer, full control of the estate shall immediately and irrevocably vest in Emma alone. I looked up, my heart racing. What does that mean? It means, the lawyer said, that your father anticipated this exact scenario. Claire shot to her feet. That's impossible. He trusted Mom. He trusted his daughter more, the lawyer replied. My mother's composure cracked. You're twisting his words. No, he said. I'm honoring them. He turned to me again. Your father added this clause after a meeting he requested in private. He was concerned about pressure being placed on you once he was gone. The room erupted in whispers. I felt dizzy. You're saying, I whispered, that if they force me to sign, they already have. The lawyer interrupted gently. The slap, the threats, the ultimatum, all of it qualifies as coercion under the trust. My sister's voice rose in panic. This is ridiculous. She hasn't signed anything yet. That's irrelevant, the lawyer said. Intent and action matter. And there are witnesses in this room. Silence fell again, heavier than before. My mother's lips trembled. You wouldn't dare. The lawyer met her gaze. I already have. He stood and addressed the room. As of this moment, the trust recognizes Emma as the sole, uncontested owner of the estate. Any attempt to challenge this will result in immediate legal penalties. I felt my legs weaken as I gripped the edge of the table. Claire stared at me like I had betrayed her. You planned this, she hissed. No, I said softly. You did. My mother sank back into her chair, defeated. But deep down, I knew the worst wasn't over yet. The realization hit the room all at once, like a sudden drop in temperature. The power had shifted, and everyone could feel it. My mother sat frozen, her mouth slightly open, as if she was still trying to form a command that no longer worked. Claire's hands clenched into fists at her sides, her confidence cracking in real time. No, Claire said, shaking her head. This isn't happening. You can't just rewrite everything with one document. The lawyer remained standing, calm and unshaken. I'm not rewriting anything. Your father already did. My mother stood up again, but this time there was no authority in her movement. Only desperation. Emma, she said, softening her voice in a way that felt rehearsed, let's not make this ugly. We're family. Family. That word echoed painfully in my chest. You slapped me, I said quietly, in front of everyone. Over money. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't apologize. I did what I had to do. That's exactly what Dad was afraid of, I replied. Claire stepped closer, lowering her voice. Listen, Emma. We can work something out. You don't need all of it. Just sign, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. I laughed bitterly. Taken care of? Like I always was. The lawyer raised a hand. Ms. Claire, any further attempt to influence Ms. Emma will be formally recorded. That was when my uncle finally spoke. Is this legally final? Yes, the lawyer answered. And to be clear, the trust also requires immediate removal of anyone who attempted to illegally seize control of the estate. My mother's breath caught. Remove. Yes, he said. From the property. Effective immediately. The room exploded. My aunt gasped. My cousins whispered frantically. Claire turned on my mother. You said this was airtight. You said she couldn't do anything. My mother looked at her, stunned. I didn't know about the clause. The lawyer closed the folder. Your ignorance doesn't negate your actions. Security, quietly summoned earlier, stepped into the room. The sight of them made everything real. This wasn't just emotional anymore. It was done. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of loss. You'd throw us out? She asked me. After everything I've done for you? I stood up, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. You didn't do things for me. You did things to control me. Claire's voice cracked. You're really going to destroy this family? I looked around the room. The same people who stayed silent when I was slapped, who watched me be cornered and demanded to give up my father's legacy. This family destroyed itself, I said. I'm just refusing to be destroyed with it. The lawyer nodded once. Ms. Emma, if you're ready, we can proceed. I took a deep breath. Yes, I said. I'm ready. And with that single word, everything they thought they owned, everything they thought they could take, was gone. The house felt different once they were gone. Not quieter, just lighter. The last of my family members filed out under the watchful eyes of security, their footsteps heavy with disbelief and resentment. My mother didn't look back. Claire did, just once, her face twisted with anger and something that almost looked like fear. Then the door closed. For the first time in my life, the silence didn't feel hostile. The lawyer stayed behind. He stood near the window, looking out at the long driveway where my family had disappeared. Your father was a very careful man, he said gently. He loved you deeply. I swallowed hard. Why didn't he ever tell me about the clause? He wanted you to live free of fear, the lawyer replied. He hoped you'd never need it. I nodded, feeling the weight of everything finally settle in my chest. The estate, the house, the land, the legacy was officially mine. But more than that, something else had been returned to me. My voice. Over the next few weeks, the legal dust settled. My mother's attempt to contest the trust failed immediately. Claire cut off all contact. The relatives who once ignored me suddenly remembered my number, but I didn't answer. I walked through the estate alone one evening, past the rooms filled with memories. I stopped in my father's study, where his old desk still sat by the window. Inside the drawer, I found a handwritten note I had never seen before. Emma, if you're reading this, it means I was right to trust you. Protect yourself. Protect your future. Never let anyone convince you that your worth is negotiable. I cried then, not from pain, but from relief. I didn't sell the estate. I restored it. I turned part of it into a foundation, one that helped people who had been silenced, pressured, or manipulated by the very families that claimed to love them. Every decision I made felt like reclaiming another piece of myself. Sometimes people ask if I regret standing up that night, if losing my family was worth it. Here's the truth. I didn't lose my family that night. I lost my illusion of them. What I gained was far more valuable than $9.5 million. I gained clarity. I gained peace. And I gained the strength to say no, even when the whole room demanded yes. So if you ever find yourself cornered, pressured, or told you have no choice, remember this. You always have a choice. And sometimes, choosing yourself is the bravest thing you'll ever do. If this story moved you, shocked you, or made you think twice about family and power, don't forget to like this video. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe now for more real, emotional stories you won't hear anywhere else, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload.